Have you ever convinced yourself that your experience and your feelings were not valid because it wasn't as important or as sufferable as someone else's? Yeah, recently I had someone say, "That's not real trauma, this is real trauma." They were insinuating that the prostitute's story was more sufferable than someone else who probably experienced emotional trauma. And that made me think, why does our suffering have to measure up to someone else's? And why are we comparing our experiences to each other? But who gets to decide whose pain is valid in our community? Who gets to decide that our wounds are not as deep as somebody else's, so we shouldn't talk about it? Maybe because it makes you uncomfortable. So now we're going to talk about it today.
This question is mainly to black people, but if the shoe fits, fucking wear it. Why are we walking around so ignorant to the fact that we didn't inherit generational trauma? Why are we trying to ignore the fact that we are fucked up in this world and society and just spending most of our time talking shit about X, Y, and Z? And I'm speaking from experience when I say this. On my mother's side and my father's side, there's a lot of people who spend their time talking shit about everyone in the family, but don't acknowledge or own up to the fucked up shit that they've contributed to the family or their fucked up ways that they've inherited from the family. My problem is, I don't understand why younger generation is going through the fucked up shit that we had to go through. Why is nobody putting a stop to this fucking shit? Like, why is nobody sitting down having family reunions and talking about why the fuck we need to stop this shit?
So I was talking with my Mexican immigrant parents about trauma because we were talking about my sisters, and I was like, yeah, that's why my sisters are so traumatized, because of what you guys have been through. And they were like, oh no, that's not how it works. You guys get traumatized by yourselves. It has nothing to do with us having traumas. I was like, what? Like, there's actual science that proves that trauma comes from parents, especially in just past experiences that you had. And they were like, no, you just get traumatized because you just let it happen. I was like, and I really tried to explain them how there's actual science and proof that that's how it works. And my dad was like, well, psychology is not even a science. And I was like, I was not even talking about psychology, because neuroscience has studied the brain. There's multiple studies. And then he was like, oh, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. I was just like, you know what? I'm so tired of proving my Hispanic family how trauma works and how we get affected by things.
Relating to that, growing up, I was always labeled the difficult child and the one that was always causing problems. But today, I am the fucking problem because I'm going to do something about it. So this is why the video was created, but I'm going to show you a couple of clips, but also what I have been doing in the community to raise more awareness around a lot of us whose experiences has been invalidated.
To agree with everything you say, and to never have known trauma and also consideration all the ways that acceptance for you.
All right. Whose paper was that?
Mine.
Oh, okay. Zakiya, go up there. I want you to read that out loud.
Okay. Why do you abandon yourself in love and family connections? Can you see the pattern in behavior? Most times I feel really worthless. I've always desired this deep sense of love that I have yet to find in myself. It leads me to put all of that energy into everyone else in hopes I get that in return. I get so lost in trying to prove myself, my worth, and my love to them, and I forget that it starts with me. I have forgotten how important I am, trying to get everyone else to see that in themselves. Trying to give love to people who most times don't even deserve it. I think that once I put all of my energy into other people, I will finally feel something. I will finally be loved, wanted, accepted, but it never ends up fulfilling that emptiness I still feel over and over again.
And how does it feel?
100% can relate.
So let's start off with the basics. What does it mean to actually be invalidated? What does it mean to actually have trauma from our experiences? Here's an example by a well-known holistic psychologist known on Instagram.
I didn't have any childhood trauma. My parents never hit me, but I have all of these issues, and I'm always finding myself in relationships with people who treat me badly. Trauma isn't just what happened to you, it's also what didn't happen to you. And you've shared how your parents never held you, showed any interest in who you were, and rarely told you that they loved you. When we're children, we need connection, belonging, and love from our parents more than anyone else. Not getting that love is so overwhelming and terrifying for any child.
I never thought of it that way.
Tell me if this makes sense. You have this feeling that something's wrong or broken within you, and there's this hole inside of you that you feel like you have to fill. When someone shows any interest in you, you're desperate to be loved and chosen by them. You're actually trying to get the love and affection you never had growing up from people who don't really have the best intentions. You don't see red flags, not because you're stupid or naive, but because your desire for connection just runs so deep. You crave it. And when people treat you badly, you stay because losing that connection would feel too painful. Being treated badly still means someone loves you. And because of your past, that's better than having no love at all.
Oftentimes growing up, I was always met with gaslighting or someone trying to convince me out of my emotions or experience. Hence, you're lying, you're not telling the truth. I've never done that. So this is why I've decided to document and do my own research. Right here inside of this research studies that I looked up for you guys. Traumatic invalidation can damage your self-worth and mental health. Healing is possible through therapy and support. It can hurt when you express your feelings only to be ignored, or you're told that you're over-exaggerating or lying. When you're invalidated by those around you, it can damage your self-worth and affect your mental health. Traumatic invalidation is when you are intensely or constantly invalidated by those around you. This can happen when your feelings, experiences, and memories are dismissed or treated as unacceptable.
So far on the trip, I learned that I have a lot of triggers. And a lot of my triggers came from guilt and shame that I felt. I was not aware of, a lot of my emotions and my belief systems coming from, such simple emotions that are not necessarily good or bad. They just simply are. And, they just need to be processed and looked into and not rejected and kind of like suppressed, I was able to kind of just look at myself and see, times where I don't honor myself, times where I am still people pleasing.
Isn't it interesting how a lot of people in your family will be your main enemies, are the ones that are like against you or talking bad about you or pinning you out to be this crazy person? But are you truly crazy, or are you actually looking at the patterns and the stuff in your family that are just not right? But it's like, it's interesting how you try to say that these scapegoats or people like us, the black sheep or whatever, we are the ones where we're crazy or we're making up things. Are we making up things, or is it making you uncomfortable that we're stating something that you didn't want to see within yourself? And the one thing that I have found that no one talks about and or people don't want to see and realize is, even though you get older, that does not mean you get wiser. I have met, and even in my own family, have seen people in their 40s, their 50s, and 60s who still have the mind frame of a child and the reactions of someone that completely is stuck at the tender age of probably like 25, 28, or stuck at the age where they were so probably neglected and abused. They haven't actually matured from then on. They've continued to practice this dismissive, very shut down type mentality. And it doesn't matter. Like, it's an ego protection type thing. And I've realized that. And it is true. Like, once you realize that a lot of your parents or aunts and all these people are honestly reacting off of a childlike state, you don't take things personal. But at times, it's like you take it personal because you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what? So something I'm also learning is to not confront them. That was a newsbreaker to me by my counselor. She was like, don't confront them. She was like, I don't use the term narcissistic all the time, but let's just use the term selfish, because, narcissistic personality disorder is an actual disorder. But we're going to say selfish. When someone is truly selfish, and AKA they're trying to protect their ego, by any means, no criticism, no judgment, or you could probably tell them something that they did and they will find a way to gaslight you or make you feel crazy for bringing it up. Like, these people will continuously try to misunderstand you because they're trying to protect themselves. they do not want to validate that they somehow in some way could have impacted you or hurt you or did something that made you think differently of them. Like, they just can't fathom that. They just can't be that type of person. But it's like anybody has that type of thing. And then it's like for some reason they try to deflect on you, or they shift blame. They shift blame and they're like, oh, you're this, you're a narcissist, you're this. And it's like, you're quick to call someone that word, but do you truly know what you're saying? And I have a whole bunch of family members that do that. And when I sit down and look at them as people, it does make you be like, that isn't even a threat, because I know who you are. Or it's like, I know the stuff that you've done. Like, I'm watching what you do. You talk about people, you're sitting here eating your feelings away, or you're smoking your problems away. You don't know how to feel your emotions. You don't know how to go after your goals. You can't do anything alone. Okay, you can't do anything alone. You can't own up to your mistakes. You're constantly befriending people who don't like you. You don't know how, like, it's just like all these things that you do, and then you can, what? No. And so I was sitting here with my therapist, and it was like, I can own up to my mistakes without shame, honey. I can talk about it all day. Like, let's have a conversation, Bookie. Like, I'm not shame. I don't feel shame around this shit that I've done or been through, because it's my story. You learn from them. Like, and that's one thing about me is like, no one can really say that, oh, she's this, that. Like, girl, you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about it? Let's go. Let's do that. So with that being said, it's like, these people who are invalidating your experience, just truly like sit down. Like, of course you're going to react off of it, but truly look at them. Like, are they truly happy? No. They might have material shit. I'm telling you, a lot of them have like material gain, or they don't have nothing, or they got that promotion and you're like, oh, they're doing better than me and stuff. 9 out of 10 they're not. 9 out of 10 they're not. Trust, I'm literally living in it right now. 9 out of 10 they are not. They may have gotten the material gain, or they may have gotten success in some way, shape, and form, but their character will never change. Who they are will never change. So they will always have this deep loneliness, or they have to fill their void with something. Something's filling their void, whether it's their children, or it's these fake ass relationships that they're in, or it's the constant need to prove themselves in relationships. So they're always in a relationship, they're always entertaining somebody, or they're still with a partner that ain't shit, or they're not shit, and I'm like, I'm not going to be afraid to talk about it. And I'm definitely am someone that's like, you can say what you want to say. Because one thing about me is you can't clock me, because guess what? I'm finna say what I got to say at the end of the day. So what you got to say, or you have a assumption about me. There's an assumption or a little projection that you have about me. But it's something that I've been learning with my own journey. It's like, not being afraid of people trying to challenge me in a way that's kind of negative, or in a way where it's like, since I was little, you've always been this person towards me. There's never been a change of pattern, or you've always had this mindset or belief about me. And as I'm getting older, I'm like, it is very true. No matter if someone is turning 40 or they're 30 or whatever, age is not a determination of your wisdom. Do not believe anyone. Age is, I'm gonna tell you one more thing. Age is not a determination if you have a lot of wisdom, if you're smart, if you've learned your lessons. There are people in their 30s and in their 40s, in their 50s and their 60s. I have met, even 20s, but up there in age, who are shitty ass people. When I say shitty, they are shitty and they are not changing. They are shitty, characteristic people who hide behind other people, or they cannot present themselves in that manner because they know what it is that they are doing. They know what they're doing. These people know what they're doing.
Invalidation may be intentional or not, but either way, it can cause symptoms of post-traumatic stress when it's severe and repeated. Although traumatic validation is often associated with childhood, adults can also experience it.
When you speak up in your family, you're made to be the bad guy. Here's what happens in a toxic family. They focus more on your reactions than their actions. They try to make you the problem, labeling you as overreacting, overdramatic, or too sensitive. Maybe they criticize how you said something, the tone of voice, the specific words that you chose, or the fact that you spoke up at all. Now, of course, it's important to be mindful of these things, but we're talking about repeated patterns of behavior where someone denies, dismisses, or deflects anything to avoid addressing their own behavior. Now, toxic families thrive on control and protecting the person who's least likely to change. Blame shifting keeps the dysfunctional patterns intact and avoids confronting the real issues. Over time, you start doubting yourself, wondering if you were wrong to speak up at all. And you might even start to believe that you're the problem. This continuous lack of safety leaves us stuck in patterns of shame and appeasement. But here's what they don't want you to know. Your voice has power. Healing means learning that your truth matters and your feelings are valid.
Some examples can include a child tells their teacher that someone hurt or abused them. The teacher invalidates the child's experience by saying they're lying. A child tells their parents that they're sick. Their parents accuse them of faking it or over-exaggerating. A person comes out to their parents as gay, trans, or queer. Their parents ignore them or they say they're going through a phase. Examples of a traumatic invalidation in adulthood include a person of color person reports that their coworker often makes racist comments. Microaggressions also included. Their colleagues and boss invalidate them by saying they're misinterpreting or exaggerating a comment. A man reports that he has been physically abused by his girlfriend. The police refuse to help him and say that his experience isn't really domestic violence. A person with chronic pain seeks medical help. Doctors are dismissive and accuse them of making it up or exaggerating their symptoms. Traumatic invalidation can be harmful in many ways. For one, it can teach someone to ignore or downplay their feelings or memories. They may come to believe that their feelings shouldn't be trusted. When experiences of hurt and abuse are invalidated, they may believe that they shouldn't speak up when others harm them.
And like at home, I don't have people that I can go to when I'm either, even if it's like something so minuscule, but my emotions are so heavy towards it. Like I feel like I have no. I felt really alone. Like I even feel alone now. It just hurts because I hate feeling alone, especially when I have a lot of emotions because I'm an emotional ass bitch. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
My croissant? What did you do, croissant? But wait, there's more. Here was a young woman who was able to speak her truth that many people are probably afraid to say online, but needs to be said for many to hear.
We still have to be nice. We still have to have contact. You have access to my children. You have access to me because you're my mother and I have to respect you, and don't talk back to me when I'm talking to you. I wasn't talking back. I was speaking up. I'm not speaking against you. I'm just merely speaking up because I have a voice. Black mothers who don't understand this inflict this mindset on their children and don't even realize it sometimes that their voice means nothing. I could be crying all day and nobody will hear me. Or then I'll turn into, I could cry too late and then be labeled as just the angry black woman when really I've been crying out since I was a child. But because I was so suppressed and told that I was stupid for even trying to speak on things, and I was disrespectful to my parents or to my community for speaking up on certain things, now I'm a grown woman who's just speaking up whenever. And so now I'm looked at as a monster because I was never heard when I should have been. Being loyal to them means losing yourself, and you might want to rethink if they are worth your loyalty. There are people right now taking care of the mother that abused them, taking care of the mother that silenced them, the mother that didn't believe them, because we're family, we're black, and a lot of those things get silenced mostly in black homes. And out of respect and loyalty to your family, to your community, it's just toxic. It's ongoing abuse. You never feel heard. You never feel seen. And then in this world, because it happens so much, when you speak up, people will brush it off because what's next? That happens a lot, so what? Especially in the black community, like I said, there are people still right now who I don't talk to because if I even feel that energy off of you, you will never see my child, number one, but you will also never see me again. Pedophiles in the black homes, allowing your sons to touch on your daughters, and because you love that son more than that daughter, she has to be silent. We need to talk about these things. I think people are trying to take away apps like TikTok because so many things have now come to the surface. We have black mothers, the daughter that looks like the man you don't like anymore. That's the one that they abuse. That's the one they don't want because you look like your father, or that child that you're jealous of. I'm talking about black mothers, and these poor children are recording these things, and the only safe space is social media. Why? Because the schools don't listen. I know that the schools don't listen. The mental health community. Do we even really have real voices in that area? when it comes to black people, do we really have those voices? There's some black people who don't even believe in therapy. They think that going to the church is everything, that it heals everything, when going to the church can literally make things worse. I'm not even talking about just Christianity, but people in general, even atheists who are black, still some of them don't think that therapy is needed because we just fight and we go on and we're so tough. We have no feelings. We don't show our feelings. You're weak if you show emotion. Growing up being told that you can't have emotions, and then people will still inflict trauma upon you and get mad. It's like, you punched me, but you got mad at me for crying. You hit me, but you got mad at me for showing that I was frustrated and I'm tired of you hitting me. There are too many things that get silenced and suppressed. It's going on 4 minutes, so I'm going to kind of close this. But there are too many things that are silenced and suppressed, mostly in the black community. And it needs to really be talked about.
So how does this play in our emotional health and mental health? Invalidation can have numerous harmful effects on our mental health. In a case study, traumatic invalidation is linked to mental health conditions such as borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder, aka PTSD. A 2001 literature review found that being invalidated by your parents increases your likelihood of developing BPD, bipolar personality disorder. A 2008 study suggested that parental invalidation increases the likelihood of self-harm in teenagers. A 2022 study looked at children who had been exposed to intimate partner violence. It found that children who had their experiences invalidated more likely were to experience PTSD and depressive symptoms. Now, the big question is, what can we do to actually help? Being invalidated isn't our fault. Although you didn't deserve it, there are things that we all can do to recover from the trauma of invalidation. Healing is always possible. This can include therapy in many types of ways. Prolonged exposure, something that I often do a lot on my healing tours with a lot of my students. I knew this would be something that could truly help them in ways that's better than online, because a lot of online courses and teachings online can just kind of go in one ear and out the other. So I decided to do something that was in real life, real time, where people fly out for 2 weeks or so to come meet other people to gain support. I have found that group therapy or anything that involves group sessions has helped a lot of my students see perspectives outside of their own, but also to feel seen and heard in their experiences, but to also realize they're not alone in what they're going through, especially when you come from a home in an environment where nobody talks about their problems, people ignore everything, or when you try to speak up, you are always shut down, or you are seen as the problem, or maybe you're just over-exaggerating. And sometimes maybe you're not over-exaggerating. Possibly you have delayed processing and you're grieving something that has never been brought to the surface yet. But this can also help with somatic experiences as well. Really, really great. So in addition to therapy, you may want to also consider support groups, setting boundaries with people who invalidate or downplay your experiences, finding healthy ways to relieve your stress, such as exercise, meditation, and journaling. As it comes to a close, I hope you gathered enough information to sit down and reflect on your own experiences and get the courage to talk about things that you would usually dismiss within yourself or has been dismissed before. I'll see you guys in the next documentary series, and you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Make intuitive, healthy choices. All my love, Akasha.